Okay, in this video we're going to talk about how to match two different cameras. There's going to be situations that you'll find yourself in where you're shooting with two different cameras. Maybe it's an A shot and a B shot, or maybe you're shooting an interview and you've got two shots. You've got the wide angle, the close-up angle of your person. And you're, because they're two different cameras, even if they're the same model of camera, sometimes the settings are just slightly different, or some, things can get a little bit messed up. But especially if you're shooting with two different cameras, sometimes, you need to do a little match in post in order to make the cameras look the same, so that when you're cutting back and forth between them, there's no discrepancies there. So I've got an interview here that I shot on two different cameras, and this is our A camera, was our wide shot. This was shot on the red Scarlett W, and then this was our B shot, our close-up, which was shot on a Red Raven. So the Scarlett W is my camera, and then I needed a second camera for this, so I went and rented the Red Raven for it. You would think that because both cameras come from Red and they have the same sensor in them, that they would look identical, but there's always little things that are going to happen here and there. You're shooting with different lenses, different cameras. They might be calibrated differently. They might, for whatever reason, you end up with two shots that look a little bit different. So you'll notice that this shot is a little more green and warm, whereas this shot feels a little bit more magenta, not quite as yellow. So we're going to go ahead and match these two shots. Now, there's this really cool tool in Premiere called the Color Match tool, which is going to make our life so much easier when it comes to doing this. In Final Cut, there's a similar tool called Match Color that you can use to select another image from your scene or from your media pool. Just match the color to that. And then in DaVinci Resolve, it also works the same way. You just right-click on the clip that you want to match, click on Shot Match to this clip. So what we're going to do is going to take this clip that we want to adjust, which is this second clip, the B cam. We want to actually adjust it and match it to this one. So we're going to take our B cam here, and we're going to go to Color Match. We'll go ahead and pull up our comparison view. And over here is the clip that we are changing. And then over here, you've got a slider that you can slide along your video and find the clip that you want to match it to. So we select this because we want to match it to this one, and we go ahead and just click Apply Match. It's going to take a second to analyze the image, and then you'll notice it's made the adjustment. Now, obviously, it's not perfect, and it is going to need a little bit of adjustment, but it is going to help us kind of go the right direction and get off to a good start. So I'm noticing here that we've got, our blacks are a little bit too black, so our shadows are too dark, and then our green is a little bit intense in the background here. It's not quite that intense in this one. And I imagine the reason why it did the shadows like this is because his legs aren't visible in this shot. So when it's matching to this, it's taking this black level, even though this black level isn't present in this clip. So all we need to do is adjust our shadows here. So I'm going to bring my shadows back up and just go even a little bit too far, and then use our mid-tones, bring them back down to kind of compensate for that. And I'm just looking back and forth between our clip here and this clip over here to just kind of match these so that they are similar. So we'll kind of go about right there, maybe increase the blacks a little bit more. We want to get it as close as possible. So about right there, maybe a little bit more. About right there, as far as exposure goes, is feeling pretty good to me. Now, the second thing that we need to look at is the color. So there's a little bit too much green in this image. So you notice that the Color Match tool over here has pushed quite a bit of green into the mid-tones and the shadows and the highlights. I'm going to adjust that and just kind of dial it back a little bit. So I'm going to grab my mid-tones and just push them back up towards red or magenta to kind of get rid of a little bit of that green in it. Again, I'm just looking back and forth between our clip here and the reference clip. And, about right there is pretty good. I'm going to do the same thing with the shadows, just slightly. Obviously, I don't want to go too far. It's going to start looking wrong, but we want to just adjust it. You're using your eyes to do this and just see, where does it feel natural. So maybe about right there. And then same thing with our highlights. I don't think they need as much adjustment, but maybe right there. And so there we go. Now we've got two clips that look pretty well matched, and we could do the interview and cut back and forth between these and probably wouldn't have any issues. So let's move on to another one that's a little bit more advanced, maybe a little bit more complicated. So in this one, we've got our shot of a guy. It's another interview. This is our B cam, so our close-up shot, and then we've got our wide angle here. You notice that the wide angle looks a lot better. We've got this kind of colored a little bit where we want it. And so we want to match this B cam to this. These are both Canon cameras. I believe they were both C200s. Might have been C300s. This was a few years ago, so I can't remember exactly, but that's what we're using here, and you'll notice that they look, just a little bit different. So we want to match to this clip, and we want to change this clip. So I'm going to select this clip. I'm going to go into comparison view and then just drag my slider over here until we find the clip that we want to match to, which is this one. So I'll go ahead and click apply match. It's going to analyze the clip and it's going to apply the match. Now you can see that it actually got it pretty close, and we're off to a really good start here. So there's just a few adjustments that we need to make. So let's turn off comparison. Actually, let's leave comparison view on so we can make the comparison. So I'm going to keep this clip selected. And the first thing that I'm noticing is that our lamps are a little bit different color. So over here, we've got a little bit of a yellow lamp, and this one is feeling a little more orange. So I'm going to go into my curves and just try to select that color. So use the eyedropper tool, click on the lamp, and that's the color that we're working with. I'm going to just increase that and change the hue of it just ever so slightly until it turns about the right color. That's looking really good. Now they're matched. Those are the same color. The other thing that I'm noticing is that his jacket is a little bit of a different color. So in this clip, his jacket feels a little more magenta. Even though it's gray, it's kind of got a magenta tint to it. And this one feels a little bit more green. I want to match to this. So I'm going to take the eyedropper again, select his jacket, and then take that color and just, slightly increase it so that it feels more similar. As always, don't want to go too far. Not trying to make it actually green. We're just kind of taking a little bit of that magenta out of it. So let's see, from there to, maybe about right there feels natural, and I may want to desaturate it a little bit. So I'm going to go up to my saturation curves and just use the desaturation about like that. That is feeling pretty similar, maybe a little too green. Okay, so now those are similar. Now the last thing that we need to look at are his skin tones. So you'll notice that his skin tones in this image feel a little bit more green, whereas these ones feel a little bit more magenta. It's a little subtle change, but I wanna fix that. Now the issue with this, and the reason why I can't use curves for this, is because I'm already using curves to adjust the lamp, and there's other warm tones in this image that I don't want to affect. In fact, I think I'm already affecting the skin tones a little bit, so I might take this. I'm going to take this and increase it a lot to see what I'm affecting and find out really where that lamp is on this spectrum. So where it starts to get really purple, that's the lamp right there, and I'm just going to narrow this so I'm only affecting the lamp as much as possible. So about right there. Now obviously it's impossible to get this perfect, but at least we are getting as good as we can. So we'll put that back to where we wanted it, kind of orange like that. That's just to make sure that I'm not affecting too much of this couch and too much of his skin tones as well. Now since we're already using the curves here to adjust the lamp, I'm going to go into up here at the top, and I'm going to click Add Lumetri Color Effect. So I'm going to add a separate instance of Lumetri that's a clean one, and I'll show you why in a second. And you can do that in Final Cut as well. You can add a new color correction in DaVinci Resolve. You can just add a new node. And so I'm going to go into my secondary controls here and just select his skin tones. So if I go in, I click on Select Skin Tones. I'll use this plus dropper to kind of drag around and get a good range. And you'll notice as I select those, in fact, I'm going to come in here and get some of the shadows as well. As I select those skin tones, there's a lot of other stuff that is being selected in the image. So I will adjust this as best as I can to get, kind of get more of what I want, less of what I don't want. So just to kind of eliminate some of that background stuff as much as I can. And I actually can do quite a bit, just like this. Okay, so we're only getting his skin tones. We'll go ahead and blur that out a little bit so we don't get any hard lines. And then I'm going to take those skin tones and try to match them. So they're feeling a little bit green on this one. We want them to be a little bit more magenta. So I'm just going to take this color wheel and push it towards magenta just a little bit towards red. Yeah, just kind of push our colors there a little bit so they're a little bit more matched like that. Now you notice that this affected some of this chair and some of this couch in the background as well, and we don't really want that to happen. So what I'm going to do, and the reason why I created a separate instance of Lumetri, is now I can come over here to Lumetri and I can create a mask. So I'm going to add a mask to this. Let's go back to our color wheels here and turn off comparison view so we can see this. So we're going to add a mask to this Lumetri instance and then move it around so that it only affects whatever the mask is over. So you notice that that is more orange, and then that gets rid of it. And I can take this and just put it over his face. And then I will take feather and just feather it up so we don't have like a hard transition. Because this is an interview and he's not moving around or anything, the camera's not moving, I can get away with this because his face is always going to stay within this zone. So now if we go back and turn that off and compare the two, then we can go back and forth. All right, so I'm looking at the color now, and we've made those adjustments and got them all set up. However, this image now, when we turn on comparison view, is starting to feel a little bit too warm and a little bit too magenta compared to this one. So we need to go back and make some adjustments. And this is mostly happening, I think, because of this curves adjustment right here. So if I turn that off, then we're getting some of our normal colors back. So let's go ahead and tweak this just a little bit. So we've got some things happening here when we're adjusting this lamp, and it's just affecting the whole image a little bit too much. And what we may have to do, in fact, I think we're going to have to, because this is affecting too much of the couch and everything, we really want to leave the couch exactly how it is and just change the lamp. I'm going to do one more Lumetri effect and just change that lamp. So I'm going to do a curves adjustment on that lamp, put it back. That's going to affect the whole image. And then we'll go ahead and on this third one, I will add a mask. So I'll take a mask and just put it around that one lamp. Like that. Again, because it's a static shot and it's not moving, I don't have to track this to the lamp or anything like that. So I can put that mask around it and then go back to our mask controls and feather that again. And then now let's go back and take a look. So for the most part, I think we're looking pretty good. I may adjust just little exposure things here and there, maybe adjust the exposure of the image just a little bit. But overall, we're getting an image that is pretty well matched to our reference clip. So that was a little bit more advanced one. Sometimes you might have to go in and do a little bit more like specific colors and changing different objects and things like that. But whatever you have to do, you can get those colors matched. So there you go. There's a quick video on how to match cameras whenever you're shooting something that's like dialogue scene or an interview like this or a series of interviews and you want them to be matched. This is how you're going to go through the process, using that color match tool in order to get you started, and then just going through and using all of the color grading tools that we've talked about in this section to just make little adjustments to your image and get it looking really good.